What's up, crew coach? Welcome to the Relationship Mastery Masterclass. Man, I am so dang pumped up for this masterclass. I'm telling you, I love relationships and developing connection and really attracting rather your tribe of people that you're going to do business with, that you're going to work with throughout your whole career. I promise you, there is a group of people, a tribe of people, a handful of people that you will consistently find that is going to be your bridge to the main opportunities that move your career forward, that really drive you in your opportunities as you grow forward. It's a fascinating thing that happens. Oftentimes, most times I should say, it happens unintentionally from people. But I want to help you really learn how to do this intentionally so you can shape and create the future opportunities that you have. There's been moments in my career where I've started to really tune into this, where I intentionally went after relationships and helped develop and bridge gaps when I started to really understand this. But at the same time, I was initially pulled along unintentionally before I really got a grip on this and the reins on this. And if you don't, it's so easy to get pulled in directions that you don't want to go. And I'll explain why, but it basically is because you are literally attracting the opportunities and the relationships and the conversations based upon these relationship strategies that I'm going to share with you in today's masterclass. All right, hopefully you all can hear me fine. So let's dive into this. And also be sure to take notes, please. I think that you will gain a lot of value from this. And I want to know if you're watching the replay of this or taking this in the vault, comment below, what is your one takeaway? Comment in the comment section below, what's something that you took away from this masterclass? All right, so the target and the goal of this masterclass, because when I do these trainings, I really want to make sure that we're going in a certain direction. I want you guys to know where I'm taking you with this information and what this information is used for. And so the whole point of this masterclass is to better understand how to start and develop industry relationships, developing better rapport and communication skills, and having a real clear strategy and approach to building and developing these industry relationships. And also, importantly, how to establish what I call your KLT factor, which is a marketing term, actually. It's called your know, like, and trust factor. Because if you don't know how tour gigs are gotten in this industry, I talk a lot about it in my content, but I call it the 3 circles of referrals. Okay. And you'll hear me reference this a lot throughout our relationship together. See what I did there? Our relationship that we have together as coach, mentor, and client, you guys. But it's the 3 circles of referrals. And let me just break this down real quick as we start here, how these tour gigs are gotten. They're even gotten in the same way, even if you're an employee. It's not just as a freelancer, but you can understand the same concept of 3 circles of referral, even as an employee, okay? Because everything is relationship based. When you're deeper in the conversation meaning deeper in someone's thought and consideration, then you would be more likely to be considered, okay? And the 3 circles of referrals kind of goes like this. Let's just say that a production manager or a staffer at a company is wanting to put someone on a gig. Okay, or they're looking for someone for the gig. Well, what they do is they check their immediate circle, right? We all would do the same thing. They check their immediate circle and go, well, who do I know that I like and that I trust to put on this opportunity, to put on this gig? Now, the company might have a hierarchy, but chances are they also have a person there looking at a list of people and they go, who do I know, like, and trust myself first before just the hierarchy of it all, okay? Because that's oftentimes how even internal companies staff gig opportunities. They may go, oh, well, I like this person. I heard this person did really well on that last gig, or, right? They're a little bit deeper in their thought. The same way with the production manager. But if these people don't really have anyone that they know of right off the bat, okay, what they're going to do is they'll say, okay, well, no one I know is available. Let me ask them if they know someone that's available. And then their person looks in their circles, because everybody has a little circle of influence around them. There's a lot of little pockets of relationships to tap into. And if no one knows, or if no one's available in that circle, then they ask their circle if they know someone. And if no one knows anybody in that circle, it is a cold hiring process through maybe trying to scour LinkedIn or BobNet, something like that. Okay. It is understand that this is a relationship building concept in the industry on how these circles are created. Your whole goal is to get inside the circles of people, right? But not just any people, your tribe of people. It's important to understand that you're going to be building relationships, and then second and third party relationships with people that are cross-connected because of this KLT factor, this know, like, and trustability through it all, whether you're a referral or a direct reference. Okay, does that make sense? The 3 circles of referral. Again, in a company setting where it's a company looking at a labor list, they're going to go with the booking person's first immediate, who they would like to see on the call. Well, if those people aren't available, then they're going to move to the next set of people where it's like a hierarchy, or they may even say to the steward, hey, who do you want to see on this certain call? Or the project coordinator, who do you want to see on this certain call? And then if those people aren't available, they continue to go down the list until new people get put on the calls. Sometimes these calls are so big that they just have to staff them like crazy. But even on the gig, the responsibility and the better parts of the gigs go to people that are deeper into the relationship. Okay, so that's how important this relationship game is. It's literally everything. And I want to really stress that to you guys as we move through this masterclass. Okay, because this is about mastering the concept of relationship building, so you can really secure and confidently create this career with no worry of the opportunities running out. There's always an opportunity. There's so many wonderful opportunities, but too many people don't focus on relationship, and they just focus on gig getting, and the gigs end up running out for them. Our whole mission here is none of that happens. We create enough relationships that we're not having to go hunt for them. We're not having to blast out on social media like, hey, I'm trying to fill my schedule, because of our relationships. They bridge all of those gaps, okay? We want enough of them, and we want quality relationships, and the right ones that bring in the right type of opportunities for us consistently. Wouldn't that be awesome? Heck yeah, it is awesome. Trust me, after 22 years in this business, 20 years touring, I can tell you that this is the exact way that I look at my career and how I've made a web of relationships to where I never worry about opportunities. In fact, I pass a lot of opportunities on, which again is another relationship building tactic. When you can bridge the gap to other people, it just strengthens your relationships. Okay, there's a through line thought that I want to kind of put out there before I kind of go into the sections of this masterclass that we're going to go over. And I had this idea. I was like, I want you guys, as we're going through this class, to kind of have this idea in mind as we go through this, okay? And here it is, all right? It can be a little tough to hear, but this is what I want you guys to think about as we're going through this whole class. If you wanted to, you would. If they wanted to, they would. You can't force someone to like you, right? And you can't, you can force yourself. You can take ownership and responsibility of bringing your end to the relationship, okay? So if you wanted to, you would. And if they wanted to, they would. Ooh, that's so good. Because that is the case. If they wanted to get back with you, if they wanted to connect with you, if they wanted to receive, if they wanted to pick up what you're putting down, then they would, right? And if you wanted to come across and develop more quality relationships and have better opportunities, then you would do what we're going to talk about here in this masterclass. Okay. The through line thought. Never had one of those before in these masterclasses, but I thought it would be appropriate because how cool is that, right? If you wanted to, you would. If they wanted to, they would. All right. So I got to go here, guys, because when you're talking about building relationships with other people, finding the right opportunities that attract the right type of connection and the right type of values and morals, right? The right people to work with, because that's ultimately what we're talking about here, not just gig getting, but like really creating a quality experience for our career. We have to start with the relationship we have with ourselves. We have to start with that personal connection we have with ourselves, okay? I talk a lot about this in Crew Coach because, to be honest with you, I never see the difference of personal development and career development because however you are as a person is what you're going to get in your relationships, okay? And so it's important to understand that the first relationship you have to strengthen, you have to really develop, is the relationship that you have with yourself. Now, what does that actually mean? Okay. Well, here's the truth of the matter. If you're trying to go and send out an email or a text or a message to someone on social or go connect with somebody at NAM or one of these industry events, if you're not sold on yourself, if you don't have a positive relationship with yourself and your career and your future, you are sure going to have a difficult time to get other people to receive that. You know, if you're not sold on yourself, it's hard to sell someone else on you. Okay. And when we're building a relationship, we kind of are selling people on who we are, right? And what we want, what really we're after, you know, and whether it just be the connection or whether it be future opportunities or all of it, long-term friendship, like we got to have a complete, we need to buy ourselves. We need to buy into ourselves. Does that make sense? And so your personal relationship, it influences everything in the way. Okay. You know, imagine your literal personal relationship, the how you feel about yourself literally has a trickle down effect into your whole career, into your entire career. Okay. And so it's that important to get a grip on the personal relationship that you have with yourself. You could learn these tactics that I'm going to share with you, like how to do all of the texting and the messaging and all these things that we're going to cover. But man, none of it's going to be received. None of it's going to be delivered like you want it because you don't have a strong relationship with yourself. Like it's that important to have that strength with your connection, okay, with your personal connection, okay? And so what I'm specifically talking about here is who are you, right? In this touring crew career, like who are you? What do you want to be in this career? You know, I'm serious about this. You know, it's about that self-awareness, right? Like you got to know, what are we after here? Like how do we want to show up here? What do we want to become with this career from a actual position standpoint, from a responsibility, from an experience standpoint? Who are we? And who do we want to be? Because this is going to come through in everything else that you learn tonight. It's going to come through in the way you ask, you know, for opportunities, the who you connect with, everything is going to come through your relationship with yourself is going to come through everything. And so who are you and what do you want to be? What do you stand for? What types of values and morals do you have? What do you actually stand for? Because when you work with people that have the same similar values and things like that, when you have those type of relationships, you are going to have an incredibly expansive and thriving time and thriving experience with those certain companies. I'm telling you, I did this in some of the gig research that I did with past members. And one member was saying that, you know, she's a Christian and she really would love to be able to do video with somebody that's not necessarily just in the Christian world, but that has Christian values. One of the companies, SES, I think they're based out of North Carolina. We looked them up, we Googled them. Their mission in the front was their whole mission is about Christian values, literally for God, right? Like they're a production company that goes on tour with bands, but their whole mission through line for their whole company is they're God focused, they're Christian focused. It's like, well, there you go. I imagine she would probably thrive at a company like that because they fit their values and morals. You see what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm talking about here. What do you stand for? Why are you? I know this is a weird statement or a weird question, but why are you? You know, why do you want to show up in the capacity that we're talking about right now? Why do you want to have the type of influence? You know, why are you trying to build this career in such a way that you are? You know, now that we've established what we stand for and what we actually want, right? Like, why do you want it? All these things matter in relaying your message, okay? Because remember this, authenticity attracts your tribe. Authenticity attracts your tribe. One of my tribe members is a top touring guitar tech, okay? This guy is like, everyone knows him. He is super top, okay? I mean, the guy could post a post on Facebook about drinking coffee and he'd get 300 engagements. People are just like, I love you. Like he's built such a relationship and such a brand, which we're going to talk about, that he's that respected and that type of notoriety. Well, he's part of my tribe. He's part of my inner circle tribe. One of like 5 people on my hand that we work with each other. We actually have never toured with each other, but we work with each other in relationship to the career and opportunities. And we share so much of the same values. We come from different places, and he's a very different guy in many ways, but at the core values of the job, like we're both willing to do whatever it takes. You know, we both feel like entitlement is really heavy these days, and especially in this younger crew. There's all of these values that we share, and so it's easy for him to refer me and vice versa because there's some core values that we know that we consistently bring to the table. And so authenticity attracts your tribe. And he told me that he when we first connected, it was the fact that I had a really clear stance on who I was, what I was after, what I was bringing to the table, and I was my authentic self, which attracted me into hit that relationship with them. And now that's been an ongoing relationship for over a decade now. But the way to have that relationship with yourself, and I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of these tactics on how to get that confidence and how to bring, you know, your values and your morals, because I talk a lot about that generally. We have a Creating Career Confidence Masterclass that you can take to help you kind of connect with some of that. But it's self-awareness. You know, that's the key driving factor to creating a stronger, more developed relationship with yourself. To have mindfulness, right, requires self-awareness. And it requires you to really start to lay this out, you know, really lay the foundation. If you're just aimlessly trying to network and aimlessly trying to connect with people, and anyone who will listen, you are going to get randomness with your career. And randomness can be fun sometimes. You know, I'm all about, sometimes I end up getting these random relationships that I end up working with over the years. But however, when you can be intentional about it, it requires you to be intentional with yourself. Okay. And so the relationship with yourself is a key driving factor to all of this. It starts here. It's going to start with you, and then we can begin to move you intentionally into the rest of the relationships that you're going to be building already. And guess what? You're building relationships right now, whether you realize it or not. We'll talk about that later with your brand. But the first kind of relationship bridge that I like to talk about is networking. All right. There's a big difference between networking and relationship. Networking is all surface level. It is all that initial connection. It is all of that kind of, you only get one chance you don't get a second chance at a first impression type of thing. That's networking. That's why it's so critical and key for you to know yourself, so you can bring your best self right out of the gate. You can bring the self that you want to bring right out of the gate. If you're definitely not happy with your gig opportunities and the people you're meeting, there's a really good chance that you've got a poor connection with yourself. That's the importance of this. So networking is that initial attraction, that initial connection, okay? Relationship building is all done in the depths of the conversation. That's after the first connection. That's after you friend each other on Facebook. The relationship building, the first part of relationship is networking, but the relationship development where all the opportunities happen is beyond that, okay? So let's talk a little bit about networking online. If you haven't taken the touring resume training, I suggest you do that. But at the end of that training, there is a bit of talk about touring or your social resume, okay? Your social resume is simply that. It's your social footprint. And the reason why I included it in today's networking is because it really is imperative that you get your social resume intact today. If you haven't already, make sure your social resume is is your best foot forward, okay? I'll talk briefly about how to kind of lay that out, but the general gist of social resume is when they look at your initial resume profile, okay, your social profile, whether that be on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, however I know all of you are on Facebook, so I recommend at least getting your Facebook correct, because there's a lot of people on Facebook, LinkedIn, any of these ways, these social tools, because that's what they are. They're tools to connect with people. I really recommend that you get a grip on your social profile, okay? Because this is your social resume. At least your social profile is part of your social resume. Your photo of yourself in your profile picture, it needs to be front-facing, smiling. It needs to not be a cartoon or you covered up or you with your dog in front of your face, your cat or whatever. Like, it needs to be you putting your face out there, all right? I'm big on not consuming social. I use it for specific purposes, and relationship networking is a huge purpose of mine to use social with. So make sure your profile picture is front, center, smiling, your best look, okay? Your cover photo, like on Facebook, you have a cover photo. Well, it's important that cover photo kind of signifies your interests. If it's merchandising, if it's tour management or touring in general, maybe, you can look in some of my photos, grab a tour bus photo, right? And put a tour bus up there. If it's lighting, if it's backline, if it's production in general, like put a gig photo up there, not necessarily you in a gig, but maybe you in a gig. I think that could be cool and helpful. But what it does is it shows the connection specifically to production. And if you're already specialized in a certain field of production, maybe audio, lighting, video, backline, whatever it is, then absolutely, man, put you in your work box up there, or you in your video world, or you in your console, or even just if you haven't got to mix yet, but audio is your interest, then put a show where it's like the PA or audio or an audio console or whatever, but you're leading people to let them know in this part of the relationship without even you having to tell them you're doing what you're set out to do. So make sure that the about section has your about. Like if you're a stagehand at Rhino, like put Rhino stagehand, right? If you work at Madison Square Garden, if you work at Live Nation, maybe any of the touring stuff that you did, like you don't necessarily have to put like your past tours that you did. A lot of people put like, they'll list all 10 of their past artists that they work with, but whatever you want to do, it needs to show people like where you're from, your name, where you're from, what your real interest is. Like for my touring part of my about section on my Facebook, I've just put Kenny Barnwell touring. If they click into there to see what that's about, I've listed out a handful of the artists that I've worked with in the positions that I've worked with on my about on that part of my profile. Simply, I also am on my social profile, I'm connecting with people like yourself. So I let them know that I'm the founder of Crew Coach. I'm a personal development enthusiast. You can certainly add a little bit of personality to your bio. Like I put personal development enthusiast, I put hashtag proud husband and hashtag proud dad, because that's part of my brand. That's part of what I put out there, which is part of relationship building. And so make sure that your bio, your about, and your cover photo and your profile photo all look symbiotic. You know, it tells the story of you. It gives people backstory without even having to have that initial conversation. And make sure finally to take the top 10 posts. And if there's anything political and stuff like that, look, I just want to tell you, you're going to have to take ownership of everything that you put out there. Okay. If that's your gig, if that's what you want to do, and you want to post stuff about smoking weed or politics or whatever, I want to ask you as your coach to kind of maybe remove the weed stuff, politics, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But just know that everything that you put out there is your social resume. It's getting people to judge you, assess you, to know you, to like you, to trust you. It's affecting directly your KLT factor. And so it's important to take ownership of that. You do what you want, but take ownership of that. But what I want to encourage you to do is to craft it. If you look at my wall, I don't let anybody post on it but me. If they tag me in a photo, I review it before I allow it on my page. Sometimes I do, most times I don't. I want the wall feed to be me. A lot of people don't look at your wall, but sometimes they do, especially people that are initially networking with you. Okay? Because that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that when we do things like social outreach, that when people come check out our profile, we get to tell our own story. We get to put our best foot forward. We get to validify ourselves and add credibility. We get to let them know who we are from the start, and we kept it clean and concise. Does that make sense? So social outreach, okay? Let's talk a little bit about this networking online. I'm going to kind of move a little bit faster here through this, but in your social outreach, and by the way, the reason why is because if you take the touring resume workshop, I talk a little bit more about this in that workshop under the social resume section. But your social outreach is a part of relationship networking, okay? Because that's what we're talking about here, right? And what you're going to want to do is, first of all, understand that we're working our relationship in a certain direction, okay? So what we want to do is we want to go and join relevant Facebook groups, okay? I'm going to specifically talk about Facebook groups. This obviously works with LinkedIn and Instagram as well when it comes to following certain companies and certain other techs and crew that you know are doing what you want to do at the level that you do it, that you want to work towards, or even that you respect their work. Maybe you respect their posts, their content, like the Facebook groups that are in that relevant sphere. So maybe it's a merch group, a tour managers group. There are groups like this in every area of production that you should connect with. And of course, there's all of the professional groups as well. There's also pages of companies, something that you've probably seen me do recently as I'm filming this workshop is I've been commenting on all of these different companies' posts to connect with them. I've been becoming their top fan for a reason. I've been accepting the top fan on Facebook award for a reason, and I'll get there. So I want you to go ahead and reach out and connect with these people. And when you're in these groups, okay, and you see people that are commenting, okay, or maybe you see people that have posted in, say, an audio group or a merch group, and they posted something that you like, all right, or you think it's cool. If you don't already, go ahead and like it or heart it. But one step forward with that is comment on it. Engage in the community. Engage in that post. Listen, I know it's social media, but what really works social media is being social. Okay, this is a platform to connect with people. And so make sure that you're contributing to the conversation, because then what happens is the person that posts on that, they go, I wonder what 10 people liked my post. And they look at you, and there's a really good chance they do what? They look at your social profile. They're going to go to your page and scope you for a second. You know, for me, I keep my page open. I keep my page completely public. There are certain posts that I make private just to certain people, but for the most part, I keep my page public because to me, it's a tool. All right. And I'm using it as such. I'm using it as a networking and a connection tool. My family and friends are on there, and my family has my telephone number if they really need to see anything, but I'm also fine with my family seeing my career. That's okay. I'm down with my family seeing my career. Sometimes they actually bump my post up by supporting me. That's cool too, but they're definitely proud of me. And it's a way for them to stay connected to me and my career and my business and my family, the things that I want to have on my page, which goes back to social resume, by the way. Make sure that your top 10 posts are those things that you want people to see. If you don't have anything that's relevant to your career or whatever, post stuff about it. Share a magazine article about your craft, right? Share a PLSN article. Talk about your opinion of some show that was out. Or, maybe talk about a class that you're taking, let people know what you're doing. It's your resume, right? If you're just finished OSHA 30 or OSHA 10, post about it. Maybe you just did a new gig. Maybe you just learned a new part of the software a skill that's going to help you better your craft. Like maybe you just took the tutorial on the @Venue, which is a merchandise selling program, and you just took the @Venue tutorial and just be like, "Ooh, just learned so much more about @Venue. I'm looking forward to using this program more." Why? Because that is very telling to the people you're going to be connecting with. Can you see what we're doing here? We're building up a very powerful tool to help people know, like, and trust us without us even having to get on that first conversation. If we can warm people up to us initially without having to get on that first conversation, that call or whatever, that first call is going to feel like we've known these people forever. Oddity here, and this is going to happen to you here very soon, Steph, when we meet up in person finally, because we've built a relationship online, when we meet up in person finally, when we do these Crew Coach meetups, it's going to feel like we've known each other forever, because we have this relationship, right? It's the same exact way when you meet people from online on these gigs, or you connect with them on a DM or a phone call. Sometimes I like to do Facebook calls through Messenger to some of these people. I actually went to a concert the other day, and the guitar tech came up and gave me this hug. One of the Eagles guitar techs gives me this hug. He's like, "Kenny, hey, man, I feel like I've known you forever. I've been following your stuff for years." I'm like, "Wow, thanks, man. That's tremendous." That's what I'm talking about here, okay? And so that is your social resume. That is your initial clout, credibility, and all that stuff, okay? Another thing and I'll leave it with this with online networking, is sending friend requests. Like when you're in these groups, or if you go through my friends list or go to these company pages that list out their admins, which are usually people that work in the companies, anytime you see a company go post and then look at their comment section, you'll notice a lot of those people are employees of that company, like 4Wall or PRG or whatever. They're commenting because, hey, it's their company. They're rally crying, right? Go and send them a friend request. Because what happens if you get a friend request? What do you do if someone sends you a friend request? Yeah, that's right. You look at their profile. And if you have that social resume set up, because you did what we just talked about, then you are going to bait them in to your world, and then the relationship game can begin. The real relationship, the deepening, the development stage of the relationship. Because right now you're just connecting with these people, okay? All right. And then offline, I want to talk about networking offline, okay? On gigs, when you are gigging, it is so important to talk to people, to get to know people, to instigate conversations. It's very important to literally discuss not just the gig, but who you are, what you are, why you are. It's so important to have these conversations, because our conversations that we have, whether they be on social or whether they be on these gigs, are like filters, because we're attracting the right people that is going to help us grow our network of opportunities, and our web of opportunities rather, with every conversation, right? And so when you're on these gigs, make sure you talk to people, invite them for coffee in catering, right? And literally just talk to these people. When you're working with them, make sure that you ask for the contacts. All right. Seriously, I don't care if you're a runner or a merch seller, like you can absolutely say to the tour manager or the production assistant or the merch manager that you're working with on the tour, you can absolutely say, hey, are you on social? I'd love to connect with you. You know, if you're far enough in the conversation where you worked with them all day, or maybe you've done a week of work with these leads and these technicians, you can literally say, hey, you want to connect like outside of social. Maybe you've already connected with social. You've worked with them all week. It is absolutely appropriate for you to go, hey, I'd love to get your number and stay in touch. And then they'll most likely be like, absolutely. Something that a lot of people don't realize about me is I give out my telephone number a lot. I understand that most people are too afraid to reach out to me, probably, that don't connect with me that way. But I actually give out my telephone number quite a bit. And so anyways, ask them for the contact, because if you don't ask them, then you can't connect with them. You have to be bold here in this circumstance. Okay. So you can get the contact information for social media from or the phone contact, especially if they're locals. Like if it's people that you're a stagehand with, or you're working at the venue with, or whatever, get their telephone numbers. All right. Get their telephone numbers and social, but get their telephone numbers. If it's just touring crew and you just don't feel comfortable yet to get a telephone number, then connect with them on social media. Hey, are you on Instagram? Hey, are you on Facebook? Right? Most people are. Connect with them on social media. And finally, offline networking at industry events. Maybe you go to the conference, maybe you go to TCW, maybe you go to NAMM, wherever these events are, it's the same thing. You're going to feel the vibe of people at these events too, because sometimes these events can be a little bit weird, right? Take the Creating Career Confidence Masterclass that I have in here. I have a whole section about how to bring confidence to these live events. So you're willing to go and put yourself out there, but have these conversations with people at these events, because you can connect with them on social right there. And again, if you have your social resume set up, then you can just connect with them, and then literally they'll be able to follow you immediately and see what you're all about, right? To affirm you and to continue to deepen the relationship. So connect with these people at industry events. All right. Can you guys see so far how the relationship of self affects your networking, and who you network with, and how you network with, and how you come across? Like even how you post, like if you're not self-aware of what you're doing, and that every post and every engagement and every call and every connection stems off who you are at your core, and why you are, that's how important connection with self is through all of this. And now that we're past the networking phase where we've connected surface level, and if we continue to do this, can you see the power behind this, by the way? If every gig you are connecting with someone that could be the good fit for you and deepening the relationship, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. If online that you're engaging in people's conversations, maybe you're the one that starts the post. Maybe you're the one that's in this group asking the audio question or the lighting question, or, you're in one of these roadie groups where you're seeing other people's posts and you're engaging and answering questions and giving value, sending friend requests to these different people that you want to actually connect with in these different companies. Can you see how powerful this is? You start to bring them into your world. You start to network with them. You have a very powerful leverage of being able to put your best foot forward and really start to begin the conversation, because that's what we're getting into here now, which is the relationship development, which is continuing the conversation. Relationship is a one long conversation. It is about that KLT factor, right? It's about attracting authenticity back to what you put out. So relationship development. Let's talk about how you can develop relationships online, okay? Well, your personal posts, literally the ones that you post on your wall and your feed. See, you got to understand something. They are bits of conversation. It is you adding to relationships that you've connected with online. You're adding to a conversation. Is your conversation of value? Is it relevant? Is it helpful? Right? Is it encouraging, empowering? Is it exciting? Is it proud? You see what I'm saying? Like all of these things, are you contributing to the conversation in your network that you've just brought into your online sphere? LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you have a social resume, a social presence, this is a conversation that you can contribute to. So just know that you're deepening the relationship, you're deepening your credibility and that KLT factor when you post online. Group posts. So I just talked about this, starting the conversation or contributing to the conversation. When you're in these groups, man, you're in these groups for a reason. The admins, they even have a mission. If you look at the group's kind of overall rules and guidelines, they'll even tell you why they started the group in the first place. They want people that want to be there, not just lookers, but that want to be there and contribute to the conversation. Believe me, I do. I post every single day in the Backstage Crew Careers group. I would love it if people posted their wins and all these different things. And a part of it's my fault as a host of the group right now, because I'll encourage more of that out. However, that is something that you can do, because here's what happens. You get a group of, well, I've got 400 people right now as I'm recording this in the Backstage Crew Careers group, a group of 4,000, 10,000, 50,000 people. If you start to go in there and post things, you know, maybe you did just learn at Venue, right? And you learned something cool and you're like proud of it, right? You can literally go into your merch group and just be like, I feel like I really finally got a grasp of at Venue. I cannot wait to really putting this software to practice on the road. Other merch people are in that group. They're going to say, oh yeah, that's awesome. They're going to cheer you on. Some of them might be like, hey, have you tried this software, that software, this software? And then you've just learned 2 or 3 new softwares to learn. And then an open door to converse. No, not yet. I'm definitely going to check that out. Thanks so much. Right? Then what you do is, because you're starting that conversation, that relationship with a person in that specialty group of merch, you send them a friend request. You network with them. Send them friend requests, right? Once when they're in your world, your personal post will influence it. But what you can do is you have about 7 days of attention, of direct algorithmic attention, okay, on this social media platforms. And within that 7 days, you have the ability to obviously post relevant things that show who you are, to help them either care about you or not. But you also have the ability to go into their post that they're posting and be a friend, engage with them. Something that I do, and by the way, I do this with you guys. I like your post. I'll engage with your post because you guys are in my world and I care a lot about you and I want to continue to build relationships with you. But I also do this, especially with new people into my world. When they message me or they connect with me and I accept their friend request or they accept mine, I am all the time getting to know them. I'm liking and commenting on their posts. I'm not just trying to collect up a whole bunch of friends here. You know, I want to know, like, and trust the people I'm connected to, even on social media. It doesn't have to have a big friends list. It just needs to be the right friends. It doesn't have to be quantity. It just needs to be quality people that I'm connected with. That's why it's so important. That's why my page is public too, is because I'm letting people that I don't necessarily want to be friends with to have that conversation follow me. I'm also a professional account, which you don't have to do. This will absolutely work with any sort of account, right? And so have the conversation, contribute to them and their posts. If they talk about their mother or somewhere they visited or a book they read or whatever, and you feel like you can contribute to that conversation, do it. Or a simple like or a heart. Now, you don't have to just go in and like and heart or comment, because remember authenticity. Because you're initially connecting with these people initially, they might not be the people that you want to connect with. They might not be those right people in your tribe, but you've got to get to know them through their content, through engagement, see how they respond back to you, see if there's spark there, because this is a conversation. Don't just because that they're online does not mean that it's less powerful versus in person, okay? Very important. engagement, like I said, resharing their stuff or shout outs. Golly, I love it so much when people reshare my posts because I post a lot of, I think, pretty valuable posts, sometimes educational, sometimes empowering, sometimes motivational. I post all of that stuff because it is me. You guys know me by now. This is who I am. So I post who I am. I put myself out there so I can get the right people in my world. Let me just tell you, if I post something that somebody doesn't like, I post a lot of freaking motivational stuff. A lot of people hate the motivational stuff. I mean, a lot of people they get uncomfortable with the motivational stuff. Cool. They don't have to follow me. Those aren't my tribe members. See how this works? Birthdays is another one that Facebook really especially loves people. Like if you happy birthday somebody from the list of birthdays, if you happy birthday them, Facebook will show them your posts for another week, which again, if you're boosted up in their sphere of relevancy, you're deepening the relationship, okay? Another thing that you can do is old post bump. You ever had somebody come to your like photos, look at your photos, and then like go into one and like it? And you're like, wow, that was an old post or an old photo. That's called an old post bump. And you can do that to show them that you've checked them out. You know, something that I think is very important to do when you first connect with somebody from a networking standpoint is to check them out, of course. But go look through their stuff and do an old post bump. That kind of like sparks a relationship like, oh, wow, that person that I just connected with checked out my profile. They checked out some of my old photos or old posts, and they found one that they thought was, interesting, and they liked it, right? And of course, it boosts up that post in their feed and all of that stuff, and they get a little bit more engagement on that, which is people love to be recognized, right? So that's a way to scratch back and a way to give to the relationship. Because remember something, by the way, and I should have mentioned this at the top of this, but relationships are not about you. They're always about the other person. They're always about serving and giving to the other people. You can't make someone want to reciprocate, and that's not what relationships are about. You can influence that, and that's what we want to do. And the only way to influence that is not to say, hey, like my stuff, do it, please, but it is to be of value to where they just want to, right? They want to reciprocate. So the last thing on the online kind of connection is in the DMs. Now, there's two ways to kind of think about this. When you first network with them and you connect with them in the DMs, something that I like to do, especially if it's a brand new person, is I like to message them and just say, yo, this is Kenny. I just wanted to connect with you on here. I know that we have a lot of the same interests, so I just wanted to connect. I look forward to getting to know you. That's it. Especially if they're an industry person or a touring person or whatever, you want to give them a little context on why you even sent them the friend request sometimes. Sometimes people will just accept. I accept friend requests sometimes just based on mutual friends. And so if you start to connect the dots of getting friends that's relevant to them and that's a mutual friend to them, sometimes they'll accept the request. And you want them to accept the request so you can get to the meat of what we're talking about here, which is building that relationship. So send them that message. And then something that I really like to do to reinforce the development of relationships online on social is, and y'all know I love this, is sending a DM of appreciation. I'll sometimes, like the other day, I sent a DM to a guy I know that does a podcast of, it's called the Viking Mindset Podcast. And I like his posts. Okay. One day I want to be on his podcast. I like his posts. And I sent him a DM the other day and just said, hey man, I really appreciate you sharing these clips of your podcast, man. It is awesome. It reminds me of the actual episode. And I just wanted to tell you, I appreciate it. That's it. I've done this now for a couple of weeks or longer since on this specific guy's podcast, since we've connected, and he's already sent me a DM. The last DM we had was, dude, I want to have you on the show one day. Your story seems interesting, right? We're just getting to know each other. But that's how influential this whole relationship building is, because it opens up opportunities like that, okay, to take it to the next level. All right. Because then he's opening up his stage to me to where I can share my value and connect with all of his listeners, which then once when I connect with all of his listeners, I'll have a wider range of relationships, of relevant relationships in that correct topic to bring into my world to continue to potentially get more crew coach students. Okay. Because that's my aim. But our aim here in Crew Coach is to connect with industry people that are relevant in our future projection of our career, right? All right, the offline relationship development on gig rapport and conversation. You know, something that I like to do is if I'm on a gig, all right, obviously I want to talk to them about who I am, what I'm about, what I stand for, and all that stuff. We want to have those conversations in between the work. We want to have that where we're still focused on the work, but we're having those get to know each other conversations, right? Because you never know who can help bridge the gap. I mean, other stagehands, by the way, sometimes their uncle got them the gig and their uncle actually owns the company, or their uncle is a touring person and they got them that stagehand job because of that reason. And so you never know who these people are. You just want to make sure that you're having these conversations so you can connect deeper. It's all about that conversation, right? So invite them to grab coffee and catering. Hey, invite people offline to go grab coffee, right? If you're already on a tour, maybe you're watching this and want to know how to deepen relationships on your tour. Hey, that whole coffee break strategy is a brilliant one. Like, hey, can I grab you a cup of coffee? I'm going to catering. You're walking by the video people. Maybe you don't even work in video, okay? Or the lighting people. You don't even work in lighting, but you're saying, hey, you want me to grab you a cup of coffee? I'm just going to catering. They'll be like, dude, yeah, thanks. Why? Because even in their world, they may hear from the grapevine a gig that you could be up for, that they go, oh, I know somebody in that department. All the time, we are cross-referring departments all the time. I get called, hey, Kenny, I'm doing production stage and backline, right? Hey, Kenny, do you know somebody in lighting? Do you know somebody in video? Do you know somebody in set carpentry or staging or whatever it might be? And so you want to make sure that it's not just in your lane, but you're expanding out your relationships, okay? Yes, you can hyper-focus on the types of relationships within your sphere as you move forward. But once when you are in the development stage of relationships and building your web of relationships, it's important to do these things, these type of strategies to cross departments as well, because we all hear of gigs, right? Another thing I like to do is I actually like to buy the coffee or buy the lunch. Like I'll pay for it. If I can, I'll pay for it. And the reason why is because that shows them that, nah, man, I value this connection that we had over coffee or over lunch. It's no big deal. I'll pick up the $20. For me, it's an investment and I write it off in my business, you know? And so I buy it. I mean, to me, it is a bigger investment to buy a $30 a meal or something for someone that could potentially lead into a long-term relationship. That's what I'm looking for. All right. Another thing too is when you're on these gigs, make sure that you have conversations with your managers, your crew chief, or if you're on a tour, stop by that production manager's office, small talk them, you know, communicate with them, talk to them about who you are, what you are, why you are, right? Have those conversations. They're people too that have who, what's, and whys. Have those conversations. And then I have these strategies of offline relationship, which is something that I love to do is I love to use my text. And you can do this through email as well, but I prefer text. That's why I try to get people that I really know their telephone numbers. But one thing that I do this during the holidays, around the holidays. I do this quarterly, monthly. I spread it out, I scatter it out, and I follow up with people. You've heard me talk about the text blast that I send out. I say blast, it's not a blast. I don't send the same text to everybody. I get micro personal with people, but I'll send a text message that might say, hey, it's Kenny Barnwell. I was just thinking about you. I hope you're doing great. The reason why I say Kenny Barnwell is because sometimes people get new phones and the contacts don't transfer, right? And so you want to make sure that you give them your first and last name. I was just thinking about you. I hope you're doing great. All you're doing is continuing the conversation. Maybe this conversation needs to pick back up with, man, I'm doing awesome. Yeah, I'm just on tour right now. What are you up to? How are you doing? It usually gets reciprocated, okay? But a relationship, remember, is not about you. And so you start that text with, how are you doing? I was just thinking about you. People love to be thought about, all right? This is relationship. And so they're going to reciprocate with, how are you? Which gives you the blessing to have that conversation. Man, I'm doing awesome as well. Just, finished up one gig, working towards another and doing great. I'm, based in Vegas now and whatever, like however far you need to catch up. Be like, man, that's awesome. That's so amazing. Right. And you can continue the conversation accordingly. Another thing that I really love to do in that same regard is video messaging. Video and audio messaging. This is something that I do big time. Like, I'll do it to top production managers, tour managers. I've done it to artists where I've literally taken my phone and done a selfie and just said, yo, I will say something like, yo, it's Kenny. I just was thinking about you. I hope you're doing awesome. I don't know what you got going on this year, but I do know that I'm sure it's going to be incredible because you are incredible. I hope we get to cross paths this year. And I just wanted to send you this message just to tell you I appreciate you because I know I haven't told you that enough. Hope to talk to you soon. Take care. You see what I'm saying? That is a very powerful message. That's not me asking for gigs or anything like that, because what I know is that gigs come and go. Okay. And to ask them to think of you, that's like, they'll catalog that into the, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll put you on the list of everybody that's asking to think of them. But what that message does is want them to want to reciprocate, first of all, to continue that conversation. So maybe after that video message, you have a few more messages back and forth that continues that and deepens that relationship. But then you're the first person they think about when a gig opportunity comes. Now, you let it go too long without some of these texts and these micro conversations, then you really need to understand that their intention is to think of you, but you have to also think of them. And so give to the relationship more frequently, once a month, bi-weekly. Some of these are weekly. I keep up with probably 10 different people on my phones list, maybe a few more every week, because those are my core. Okay. I've built those up. Some are monthly. Some are around the holidays, so you have to kind of prioritize the relationships that you have within your phone. Some of these might be on social media. Like, I give my phone number out a lot or whatever, but like, I also have social media contacts that I do the same thing with, especially some of these company owners, podcast hosts, people that I'm trying to connect with relative to what my career is moving forward into. But you can do the same thing, The appreciation post and the DMs on social go a long way. And one way that I make sure that I'm consistent with this is I set alarms on my phone. I'm dead serious, guys. I set alarms on my phone. I think it's like my 4 o'clock alarm, or no, it's my 2 o'clock alarm, which is send appreciation. I do this every day on social, every day on text, every single day I send appreciation. So this is relationship building maintenance, okay? Development. And it all requires you, though, on and off the gig, on and offline, to know where you are in the conversation of things. Know where you are and how far you are in the conversation, to be able to disclose certain information about yourself, ask certain information about them, ask for them to consider you. I'm not saying to never say, hey, would you consider me? At some point, maybe the conversation is yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing great. I finished up a gig. I'm working to fill my schedule for the latter part of the fall. It can sound like that, right? It doesn't necessarily have to sound like, but would you consider me? Because the ultimate goal is them to consider you without you having to ask, right? All right. Finally, I want to talk about the final phase of relationship is the unspoken relationship. The unspoken relationship is your brand. All right. Now, understand something about your brand. You've heard of brand. I know we have a marketer or two that's in this group, but understand something about branding. Branding is not your logo, like a lot of these people like to say. That certainly influences your brand, your logo, your colors, things like that. But what I mean is your brand is how people feel about you after you leave the room, after you're not right up on them. Maybe it is part of how they feel about you when you're right up on them, right? And I'll dig a little bit deeper into this, but you can only influence your influence, okay? Your brand is your influence on people, all right? You can only influence your influence. It's up to them to decide how they feel about you, right? You can't tell them, hey, I want you to feel this about me. You certainly can influence it. And that's what we're doing through all of this. Can you see how powerful this is when you understand the unspoken part of the relationship is your brand? We all have a brand, whether we influence or whether we're intentionally influencing our influence or not. Okay, we all have a wake of how we made people feel behind us. All of us do. And don't be mistaken, your brand is that unspoken relationship. Because every time you interact with people, you are developing or disconnecting relationship, okay? Every single time. And so understand that it's up for them to decide. Now, this is how you operate on gigs. You know, how are you when you actually go to the gigs? Are you respectful? Do you have respect for them? Do you have personal respect, right? Do you vocalize your respect? Do you show it? You know, how you operate on gigs with your work ethic. All of this is developing you and the unspoken relationship of your brand, what you're leaving in your wake, right? How you come across in your emails, your texts, your calls, on your social media. This is all part of your brand. You know, how you're actually coming across. Are you, hey, listen, some people take me as condescending sometimes. You know, it's a feedback that I got years ago that I've been working on, to be honest with you, because I don't want to come across condescending. Some people are going to think I am generally, but I can't help what people think about me. All I can do is influence my influence by setting better intention to come across a little bit more empathetic, right? And so I've had to take heed. Remember what I told you about self-awareness is key to this. How are you coming across in emails and texts and calls and on social media? Are you coming across combative, right? Something that I love to do when I get text, or let's just say on social media, like when I post something on social media and somebody comments in a way where it's negating or defensive or offensive, or they're coming at me and they in a disagreement, the first thing that I like to do is, and you'll probably see me do this, is I like to say, I completely understand what you mean, or I hear you. I can see how you feel that way. The reason why I say this right out of the gate is I want to let them know that, like, I completely respect you, man. I can really understand how you would think that, that makes sense. Completely get it. I understand, right? I want to diffuse any sort of combativeness or condescension by showing a little empathy in my response, all right? And so for me, that's a way I can actually start conversation and continue to have conversation about sometimes topics that get a little bit of disagreement, and you've probably seen me do this in some of my posts if you follow me in some of the conversations in the threads. When you're sending these emails and how you're kind of coming across in these emails, it's about you knowing where you are in the conversation. If we're not going to get too deep into this part, because I have that outreach and follow-up workshop that you really should check out if you haven't already. But understand that, like, you want to come across where you are in the conversation of the relationship. You don't want to make assumptions that the person's the decision maker. You don't want to make assumptions on any of it. You want to make sure that you're giving to the conversation. You're not begging. You're not desperate. You're not seemingly wanting to take. You're there to serve. That's why when I encourage you guys in that outreach and follow-up email class, I encourage you to really understand what you're doing here. You're ending emails on an up, where you're saying things like, who can I talk to? Right? You're not making an assumption. Is there someone I can talk to? but you're not giving too much of the front end of just spewing everything out that you want from them. And hey, here's my resume. Like, you're letting it be a conversation, because this is all about relationship. You're letting each email, each touch point deepen the conversation and allow it to continue forward. But you have to be self-aware and know where you are in the conversation. Sometimes it requires you to be a little bit more informative because you're deeper in the conversation. Like, for instance, if you got a referral over to the hiring manager, you don't sit there and say, who can I talk to? You're talking to the right person. You got to know where you are in the conversation, because if you know that you're talking to the right person, then you can say, hey, such and such asked me to reach out to you. They wanted me to send you my info to talk about potential gig opportunities. That's when you can be that far in the conversation. But how are you coming across on these calls? And text and emails, and of course on social media. Your brand, the unspoken relationship, is your credibility through congruency. How have you been and how are you consistently? You know, if you go back on my social media timeline and look way back, like my content and sometimes the way I say things and stuff might be a little bit less quality, but my general brand, my kindness brand, my positivity brand, my empowerment brand, my motivational brand, my proud husband, my proud dad brand, you know, my proficiency in my relationship, my proficiency in my tech brand, you know, the tours that I've been on, the shows, the type of people that I work with, that brand, the unspoken relationship has come across consistently for decades. For as long as I've been on social, for the most part, except the early days when I didn't know that I thought it was. I literally, just like everybody else, saw in the early days that it was going to be a fad. And so, you know, whatever. I probably deleted a lot of that stuff. But you see what I'm saying? It's about that congruency. And congruency in the relationship is important because it's a level of reliability. Okay? Congruency is a level of reliability. That reliability meaning you are walking your talk. You are what you say you are. If you're gonna be promoting, you know, healthy mindset and healthy living, but yet you are sitting there consistently, you know, out of shape, unhealthy, there's a disconnect of congruency. And what happens is your believability factor goes down, your trust factor goes down, and your reliability factor goes down because something is not adding up, right? That's why it's important to have that congruency and that consistency, because it affects your credibility. If you know, you are not sending out the text and the video messages consistently over the period of the next year or so, or as long as I have, there's going to be this disconnect of congruency, because here I am sitting here telling you to do this, to do these tactics, but what if I wasn't doing them myself? There would be a disconnect of congruency. But it goes back to the top of this whole relationship building thing, which is my relationship that I have with myself. I'm integral, you know, and as somebody that's integral, that has integris, I'm congruent, I'm consistent, right? And so make sure that you're consistent and you're congruent with what you say that you want for your life and your career and who you want to do it with and all of that, and that your social resume, your outreach, your text, your follows, your calls, the people you hang around, the people you connect with, it all affects your credibility, right? That's your brand. You know, birds of a feather flock together. I'm an Apple guy, right? I'm an Apple guy. Like, Apple has a culture, a brand set, and we're a part of that culture. It's going to be the same thing with you and on these gigs and the people that you connect with and build relationship with, because that's going to collect up the different type of gig opportunities that you will eventually have. You know, are you PC or are you Apple? You know, it's the truth. I promise you that. Okay, your presentation and your appearance. This is something that should be an obvious, but like, you're going to get back what you put out. And so you're going to get, if you're disheveled and you are wearing ratty clothes, or if you are wearing ratty clothes, you're not putting yourself together and at least being clean. You know, I'm saying this from an affordability standpoint, like, and you're showing up to these gigs, just watch the people that connect with you. The clean cut people, the people that have their presentation together, they're always wearing their blacks, they're showing up properly with their tools and all that stuff, they are going to be a lot more credible and valid in the conversation of things with their up and ups, with their managers, with other people. And if you notice, birds of a feather flock together. I want you to notice this when you go to your gigs this coming week. I want you to notice who connects with each other. Who are the people that have the clicks? You'll notice that they're very similar. They're very similar people with each other. You know, some of their interests are very similar. Their conversations are very similar. Their values are very similar. The way they present their appearance is very similar. It's fascinating, but it's the truth. Okay. Owning up your mistakes and your mishaps, like when you're on these gigs, or maybe you said the wrong thing on social and you know, you didn't mean it that way or whatever. Take ownership of that. You know, just say, hey, you know what? I hear what you're saying. I didn't actually mean that, because that adds to that credibility. It adds to your personal respect, the respect that you have for yourself, but it also adds to that brand of credibility that we're working towards and through consistency. And then finally, confidence versus ego. To understand that people love confidence. I mean, we lean on confidence. You know, leaders have confidence, and because leaders have confidence, people look towards leaders, right? Because they're confident. Managers hire confidence. Relationship that you have, like intimate relationships. One of the things that my wife said that she liked about me was I was confident. You know, I sometimes don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm certainly confident, meaning I show up knowing that I'm capable of figuring things out, right? AKA confidence. Again, please take the Confidence Masterclass. It is a really powerful masterclass if you haven't already. It's in the Education Vault here in Crew Coach. But just know that there's a fine line of confidence and ego. You know, there's a fine line of confidence and ego. Confidence, it has empathy, but not sympathy for the BS. Okay. And understand that this all affects your brand, the unspoken relationship. Ego affects your brand, obviously. When you become egotistical, then that means that you're proud of the wrong things, you know, that you're putting yourself on a pedestal, that you are condescending, that you think you're better and bigger than, you know. But when you're confident, it's like, no, man, like, I don't think I'm better than anybody. I just know that I can be better. And so by being better, you show up better, right? Confidence versus ego. And that is brand, the unspoken part of the relationship. So to finalize this relationship mastery masterclass, I just want to reinforce into you today that relationships are more than just connecting for gigs, aren't they? Building these relationships isn't just about bridging the gaps, is it? I hope I've really kind of given you a really broad understanding and some specific understanding and some tactics on how to do it, but showing you that this is not just about connecting for gigs. Relationships produce gigs. Absolutely. They produce opportunities. It's the fruits of it all, but it really is about creating that tree, that foundation, that web of connection, of support, of resource, of accountability, of community, and of course, opportunity. It's not just about getting people to know you. It's about getting people to know, like, and trust you, right? This is not just a who you know business or even just who knows you. It's about who knows, likes, and trusts you so you can be in the circles of referrals, so you can be close to the source of opportunity. You know, I want you to understand that everything is relationship. How you dress influences relationship. How you speak influences relationship. How you listen influences relationships. How you put yourself out there consistently and congruently affects relationships, right? How you initially meet somebody and network with them to get them initially connected with you influences relationships, right? It's all about the conversation. It's all about relationships. Everything is relationships. In marketing, we like to say everything is marketing because that's the truth. Everything is marketing. Everything is influencing someone's judgment, someone's opinions, someone's know, like, and trustability that you have in them. I promise you guys, if you take this, what I've shared with you in this masterclass today, and put it all into practice, you will become a master at your relationships. You will become a master at your personal relationship that you have with yourself. You will master the relationships that you have online and offline, and you will produce some incredible opportunities and incredible life experiences that you have with yourself, or for yourself rather. I've had relationships that not just produce gig opportunities, but that's allowed me to build relationships because I'm in backline and production management. I've built relationships with vendors to where I've had lighting companies send me Christmas cookies and Christmas cards. I've had artists that I've developed, use these same strategies to develop relationships with, that one artist sang at my wedding. I've had artists text me little special notes and fun things like that. It produced opportunities that have been incredible, beyond my wildest dreams. In fact, I have opportunities coming up this month. I was looking at my schedule. I'm about to do Saturday Night Live again, and I'm about to play Royal Albert Hall all within the next couple of weeks. And all of this has been possible because of my relationships. My last gig opportunities that I've had, I've never needed a resume. It's always because of my unspoken relationships, my brand that I've built up over the years. But fortunately, here in Crew Coach, in order to have these deep relationships, to really make it all come together, we have the resources here, like the Touring Crew Career Resume Workshop, the Social Resume Workshop, the Creating Career Confidence Workshop, the Outreach and Follow-Up Workshop, and now this Relationship Mastery Masterclass can help you put it all together to create your foundation of relationships for your touring crew career. All right, crew, I appreciate the heck out of you so dang much. And until next time, go get them.